Newsletter 7. When your body starts speaking louder than your words. In issue 6, I promised you a third way. Not submission, not rebellion, not being the one who takes care of everyone else's needs but never her own. Not someone who complains and does anything she can to avoid intimacy because you don't feel good about yourself. If that one's you, I see you, and it's time to stop hiding. Another way of getting your needs met does exist. I'll get to that soon. But first, I want to talk to you about the Great Dismissal. Have you ever noticed that at the age your wisdom peaks, society stops seeing you as valuable? Midlife, the over 50 crowd like me, even though we now have more years of lived experience than we had years of formal education. We know not only the way that we were told it was supposed to be, but also the way it really is. We remember that young women are given a choice to be a good girl or your damaged goods, the Madonna horror complex that's still rampant today. What I didn't realize, in midlife, you're also given two new possibilities, two new impossible choices. The Grammy, whose soft, supportive, always available when everyone else needs everything, your time and effort are expected and taken for granted. Or you can decide to carve out a little portion of your life for yourself, which is often seen as selfish. You're portrayed as an old, angry cat lady or a witch. Either way, you lose. You're viewed as no longer seen as valuable. In fact, you start to feel invisible. That is what I'm calling the Great Dismissal. The Great Dismissal is being created by three massive forces coming together right now. Number one is the Great Gender Withdrawal. Women and men are so exhausted by the gender wars that everyone has given up on the dating scene. And number two is that we have an economy built on attention that's colliding with decades of body-shaming messages. You see a number of celebrities like Kate Winslet, Cameron Diaz, and Pamela Anderson all braving society with makeup-free faces. I'm going to show you the same thing right here, right now, because let's just get this over with. And then number three is what I'm calling the blueprint void. Every old model for how to be a woman is broken. From the 1950s ever gorgeous and ever giving wife to the girl boss have it all era, none of it has been sustainable or an effective approach to a long-term healthy relationship. Now I'm hearing women say they don't have to do anything, that they expect men to bring every resource and comfort to them simply for existing. All in all, these three forces continue to overlook the untapped potential in our society. Older people. Those of us, men and women, who are at the wisest points of our lives are discredited and overlooked. I'll admit, being one of those older women, I find all of the tech and the fast pace of it somewhat of an enigma. So trying to navigate that along with stepping back in front of the camera with a body that was very different than the one I had 20 years ago, I underestimated what it would take for me to be comfortable on video again. I also know how society attacks women who are less than perfect or the current it girl. I've got so many more flaws now than I did then, so I started to doubt myself. Who would want to learn presence and sensuality from someone like me? Someone with a pot belly like this. That's when I did exactly what I teach not to do. I hid myself, my authentic self, the part of me who wants whole embodied truth. I turned away from the body who has been with me all of these years. I knew what I wanted to say the past 6 weeks, but I couldn't get out of the doubt and the pressure I was putting on myself. I tried to get a hold of it, but it only kept getting worse. I was spiraling downward hard, like harder than I have in a long time. And then I got a revelation. I could see the picture clearly. I had regressed into being one of my students, someone not comfortable and confident in her body. The 3,000-word memoirs about emotions, the belief in inevitable failure that led me to saying things like, my will to fight is getting quieter and quieter. It was fear. It was all fear. I've been living the very opposite of what I teach, but it's given me a newfound perspective. This is what's great about being an older woman. I can teach the same old stuff I've been teaching, but obviously, even that knowledge broke through a barrier. Am I still good enough now that I'm this old? Created a bunch of uncertainty and chaos. So it's now time to revamp. I'm going to redo my content to be even more specific to women in midlife who have storied bodies like my own. The downward spiral of emotion did just what I teach. It led to precision. I'm more determined than ever to step into being the teacher I need to be, not just for myself, but for any other woman who has a body that carries scars, blotches, blemishes, abnormalities, and yes, excess weight. You can rest assured that anything you feel or express will not be a shock to me. My goal for the next 7 weeks as we enter the new year is to strip away layer after layer of shame around our bodies and to navigate our way into embodied wholeness. I'm starting with the techniques I used as a young woman to become comfortable and confident in my own skin, after always wishing I had been born as a boy, but who learned to love being a woman. Now, I'll test them out with the wisdom of an older woman, firsthand on myself, and if you stick with me for the next 7 weeks, free of charge, I'll show you what worked for me in the past. We'll try it on for size. We'll share struggles. You'll give me feedback, and together we'll find a solution for how we can fall back in love with our storied bodies, or fall in love with it for the first time, if that happens to be you. Because I may stumble again. In fact, you can count on it. But the gift of the stumble or the setback is that you get yourself back to center more quickly and more easily each time. And the stumbles that crack you wide open, like the one I've been living for the last 6 weeks, are exactly the kind of trials and tribulations that often lead to the stories that are now preserved as written in our skin. In fact, if you touch one of those areas right now and think back to how much you endured, but yet you're still capable of love and laughter, then we're already on the right track. Our bodies are the key, and the future belongs to those who feel. If you feel like you're part of the Great Dismissal, either because you've lost your youthful beauty so you feel less valuable, or you're being overlooked, or because you've never accepted your body, I believe I can help because of the following 3 things. First, I went from wanting to be a boy to learning to love being a woman, meaning that I've lived on both edges of the internal gender confusion. I know what it costs to reject your feminine power. I also know the pitfalls of revealing it. So we'll navigate that together. Second, I learned embodiment from a grandmother who also happened to have 23 years of experience as a stripper. Not my grandmother, a teacher who taught a class called Exotic Dancing 101. I can't speak about what she was like at the strip club, but I do know that she inspired devotion from women in every room where she taught. The first gift that teacher taught me was that it's okay to move my body in any way I want to move my body. And that alone changed my life for the better. Second, that girl who wanted to be a boy, me, I'm from a Mennonite family in central Pennsylvania. My family has been self-sustainable since 1750, and through them, I learned that your body mimics the earth. Survival is built into my genes, root cellars, canning, quilting, and yes, making babies. I know what sustains through hard winters and the joys that spring brings. Have you ever wondered what makes seeds emerge from the dark, cold, and damp earth? It's magnetic pull. It makes the seeds grow upward toward the sun despite gravity. In the last issue, I said I was going to show you how to get vertical, not in a rocket ship to Mars and not some moral high ground. I meant we are going to begin working with our own magnetic pull. Instead of moving horizontally in the same plane where we've been locked in gender wars, where it feels completely transactional or predatory instead of relational, and where someone always loses. Instead, we are going to use that same magnetic pull to create a life that revolves around our own center, not becoming selfish or cutting people out of our lives, but by using our own renewable energy source, sensuality. Not competing with men, not trying to make them hear and understand us. Cringe, please stop me if I do that again. Instead, I propose we make one last grand gesture of kindness to men and say, your value isn't in the amount of money you make. And we're sorry for the times we've made you feel that way. We're not saying that because we expect any response in return, but as a way for us to understand our side of that same coin. A woman's value isn't in the way she looks. Both men and women are operating from broken belief systems that block our own embodied wholeness. Then next week, we'll take the first step to becoming so grounded in who we are and from our own center of gravity, and let our bodies speak louder than our words. First to ourselves, and eventually to others. It's time to let go of the old ways that aren't working. It's time to get curious to who you may become. Let's all embrace a new identity, one we create from the triumphs in our storied bodies. Not a story that we tell with words, but with the body that you see in the mirror. The body that has been with you through it all, and who has been waiting for you to love it as much as you have been waiting for men to love you. Because every pain, scar, curve, movement is just a perspective of a story that you tell others. You decide on the angle, and then let your body do the talking. Because here's what I've learned from that stripper with 23 years of experience, combined with my family's resilience, and maybe most importantly, during the transition from wanting to be a boy to learning to love being a woman, is lesson number 1. Sensuality is an unspoken language that men understand better than your words. And I'm not talking about anything that requires being naked. Totally platonic, but fun. You were cheated out of this path to connection when you were told that sensuality was bad. My Sensual Awakening System is the path to bridge the gender wars, first inside of yourself and then outside. You don't have to choose either path of disappearance. You can choose the path of least resistance. It helps you find a fluid balance between structure and flow, between giving and receiving. And I believe your body learns to speak the language of its soul. Here's how the system addresses each force creating the Great Dismissal. The Great Gender Withdrawal. Sensuality lets your heart connect and your soul resonate in a way that inspires devotion. Attention economy meets body shame. It's ethical magnetism through self-possession and discernment, not performances, not shame, not hiding, just iron core magnetism that comes from being rooted in who you are. The blueprint void. I'm offering you 7 practices that create a new blueprint, body-based, earth-inspired, regenerative because it's what your body already knows. The 7 practices help you know who you are at your core under the roles that you've been playing in life. Then how to nurture your presence and confidence, learning how and when to turn it on and when to tone it down. We'll help one another by tending to our own emotions rather than needing men to bear witness. We'll let our storied bodies speak their full truths through embodied wholeness. Over the next 7 weeks, establish our own axis of effectiveness, learn ways to navigate our waves without losing our center, shed layers of shame and manage our magnetism consciously, become selective in who and what enters our lives, reinforce our alignment, transform and transmute our energy continuously as we iterate and grow, ultimately stepping into the full self-possession, your embodied wholeness to live a radiantly feminine life, a life with a lot more joy, ease, and passion. Not memoir, not processing, not 3,000 word explanations, clear body-based instructions, practices you can do, movements I'll demonstrate. This is a dramatic turn. I've been a student, now I'm the teacher. Your first lesson in speaking without words will come next week, newsletter 8, with the core practice, COR. Your heart beats 100,000 times a day without asking permission. You're going to learn to walk into rooms with the knowledge of who you are at the most effective, your unique core. It's step 1 towards being cool, calm, and composed. The Great Dismissal ends when women stop explaining and start revealing our feminine power. Reply sensual if you want to be the first each week to learn the next step, and share this email with your friends so they can join in on the fun. Until next week, be free and be happy.